All righty. We are on live now and just a wee bit early. That way folks can be popping in. I saw people were already jumping on. I can see the numbers growing already. As you wait, we're going to give it maybe 1 or 2 minutes because we are just a minute or two early. If you guys who are popping on could just let us know where you're from and why you're excited about Zyto or what your favorite doTERRA product of the moment is. And we'll watch that. I see a Montana, Alabama, VMG, right? VMG, Virginia, Upalco, Utah. Where is that? Never even heard of that. Myrtle Beach, Kansas City, Reno, Illinois, North Carolina, Monument, Colorado, Tennessee, North Carolina, frankincense gels. Yes, those are amazing. Iowa, Florida. All right, what are other some favorite products, y'all? Mountain Green, Utah. I have heard of that place. North Carolina, Indiana, Kentucky, Marshall Islands. Oh man. Wow. That's a distant one. Kentucky, St. Louis, Indiana. Yes, this is recorded, Ron Wilder. So we should be able to make it. Not sure exactly how it's going to be made available to everyone, but we are going to make that out there available. Probably, we'll see how to. The thing is, yeah. Anyway, we're trying to figure out how to because we're not being compliant. So we're gonna do a unlisted YouTube or something. I don't know. Anyway,
I'll try to be compliant, James.
I know we'll always try, but you know. All right, so we're almost ready to start. We got 60 and growing people popping in there. But yes, we will. It is being recorded. We will figure out how to get the link to everyone or make it available and visible for everyone. And we should have I know we'll figure that out. So, all right. So yes, lots of love there for Rachel. Is it L-Y or L-I? It's L-Y, right?
L-I.
L-I. Well, that's weird. I thought I went to your Facebook page.
It's okay. It's okay. It's Linch.
So there must be one with a Y because I saw if someone had a picture with you on her L-Y, and I had it in my phone as L-I. So anyway, all right, awesome.
Just whatever.
Okay, perfect, awesome. Okay, so it's L-I. Okay, I had to know that for myself. I don't care about anyone else. All right, so welcome everyone to the Tuesday, the 24th of September webinar on Zyto as a tool. We're going to get here from 2 presenters on the Zyto balance, and then we'll have a presenter or presentation on the Zyto link. But everything is a Zyto tool and how they're using it for their business, how and why they use it for their business, and how they're crushing it with doTERRA utilizing these tools. And just remember, you are still the magic ingredient. You're still the secret sauce. You just implement tools into that secret sauce of you. And so tonight, these nuggets hopefully will help you in the process of figuring out how to better do your business. We're going to jump right in with the amazing Rachel Lynch from Missouri, right? No, Indiana, Iowa, something. I don't know. Somewhere way out there, Midwest or somewhere. Anyway, lots of flat farmland. That's all I remember. And, you know, Blue Diamond working on Presidential Diamond already has that leg going. And a big part of that growth for her over the years, and even especially currently, because she's also founder 2.0, is the Zyto tool. So, Rachel, take it away and show these folks what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. So the accent isn't from Indiana. So I've lived the majority of my life in North Carolina. So if you hear a Southern accent, that's why you're all confused. James, you don't know where I'm at. I say Indiana, then I sound like I'm a Southern girl, and it really is confusing. Okay. So anyway, I have used Zytoscan for probably the last 12 years. And just it has been kind of our doctor for our kids. Instead of going to the doctor, we put them on a Zyto scan. So I used it in the beginning for things like that. And because I wasn't feeling very confident into telling people what they needed to use. So it became a tool very quickly on in our business, and it helped us to rank advance throughout, the last 12, actually 14 years we've been doing it, but 12 years Zyto scan. So I'm going to jump in and just kind of show you, and, I'll kind of show you some before and after pictures. Like if somebody's scan looks like this, by all means, I'm going to be doing what I do is as far as what I recommend for people. All right, so I'm going to kind of start off with one that just actually happened just last month. It was in August. Yeah, in August.
Hey, Rachel, real quick.
Yes.
So there may be people on here that were invited to this that haven't really seen.
That doesn't know much about Zyto.
Yeah, so you may want to just give a brief thing
Okay.
of like what it is and what it's
So
doing.
what is Zyto? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So Zyto scans, and I call them health scans. So I never go up and say, hey, can I give you a Zyto scan? Because people's like, what in the world is a Zyto scan? But everybody would understand a health scan. So it's galvanic skin response. It's a little machine, and you can it just has to have skin on it. So I have done a baby where I've actually laid them over the skin. I've done it on their chubby legs, or, because their hands are going to be small. I've went in there when they're taking a nap and put their hand on it and held it down with the blanket and held their hand down. So there's all kinds of different ways you can use the balance. It's easier, obviously, if it's an adult and they can put their hand on it. But it's just going to give you an overview of what they're. So I use Zyto Balance. I also use Zyto Link. So Roxanne's going to cover a little bit of that. But when I do a Zyto Balance, I love it because I can actually pull up, and where I normally start when I do a scan on somebody is I always start at their organs. And so one thing you don't want to see is you don't want to see a lot of, you see this line down the middle right here. You really want things over here on this side of the line. You want it to be green is really pretty, and yellow. But once it starts getting to be orange and red, we don't like that, right? We don't want it to be getting over in the orange and red. Another thing you don't want to see are zeros. So what do you see on this scan right here? Lots of zeros, right? So this is not a perfect scan by all means. And it was kind of funny. The reason I'm showing it to you on this instead, and I'll show you another one in just a minute, but to give you a little background is, so about 18 months ago, and I actually got permission to share this because this is my mom's scan. And so I asked her for permission a little bit ago. I said, do you care if I share people in doTERRA your scan? She says, I don't care. I don't think she knows what I'm totally doing, but she said, I don't care, Rachel, whatever you need to do. So, but we found out 18 months ago that she had cancer. So this right here, this scan right here doesn't really have to do with her cancer as much as another situation that happened last month. But so we've been dealing with her. So when I get a call from my sister saying, Mom doesn't look good, she looks kind of gray, and I'm worried about her. Okay, so I live in Indiana, Mom lives in North Carolina, so that's a good 10-hour drive. So I have a friend in North Carolina. I said, my sister called me, she's concerned. Can you go do a scan on Mom? Now this friend doesn't do the business, she just has a machine, and if I need somebody to do a scan, she'll go over there and do a scan for me. And then she sends me the report and said, this is what the report looks like. So she sends Mom's report. Okay, so we've been working on Mom with her cancer, stage 4 cancer, for 18 months. When I saw this scan, I freaked out. I was like, oh my goodness, Mom, what is happening? Because I was immediately just totally floored, because you don't want to see a bunch of zeros. That's a lot of zeros and a lot of reds, right? So that was a horrible looking scan. And the reason I want to show you this, because I want to show you the accuracy of it. So I started to feel this panic in my heart, like, oh no, is this the end? Because, the doctor said she wouldn't live past, at least a year. They were giving her 6 extra months if she did chemo. And so when I saw the scan, it really scared me, because she's had really good scans. But what is the thing one of the things that I really pay attention to is going to be right here in the four core systems. James, I'm going to ask you what totally stands out to you in this section right here.
Well, I mean, the thing that stands out, well, first of all, there's definitely some zeros. But I mean, you know, huge red bars, right? For endocrine or hormonal,
Yeah.
and then the inflammation, right?
Okay. So what stood out to me when I saw the scan, and it meant it relieved a lot of the panic that I was feeling because, okay, remember, I'm thinking that, you know, my sister just calls me and says, Mom looks terrible. You know, I'd heard 18 months ago that she had cancer. The doctor was giving her this much and said, if you do what your daughter says, you're going to die. And so, you know, I'm feeling this pressure on me, you know, here's this scan. So what made my heart just be relieved a little bit was I saw hydration was 0. Okay. Do you remember hearing, if you've ever heard Boyd Truman speak, water is life? If you go back to this other scan and look at Mom's organs right here, her organs were basically shutting down because her hydration was 0.
Right.
So I said, Mom, I'm going to be in North Carolina within 24 hours. I want you to drink at least 2 recharge. I will be there in 24 hours and I'm going to do a rescan on you. And I'm going to see I said, if your scan's not any better, I didn't tell her that, but I was thinking in my heart, if Mom's scan isn't any better within 24 hours, something's big time wrong. Okay. So this just kind of validates to me, like, okay, this whole scan was based on, you know, Mom's hydration is 0. So what do you think it recommends? Recharge. I think she came up for 2 different, you know, both of the recharge and the scan. You know, if you go on further down in the scan, of course, you know, when I called Mom, she was giving me, you know, okay, I'm having this issue, and this issue. And she started naming the issues and my heart started pounding even harder. But then I'm like, okay, hydration. It could be all based on hydration. Drink the recharge because the recharge is showing up for you, Mom. So I just kind of wanted to give you that scenario to just kind of put some validation in here. It really is accurate. Okay. So now that I've pulled that up, I'm just going to pull up the Zyto scan. So this is a typical Zyto scan. And so this is what it's going to look like when you do a Zyto scan. And I can actually, if you want me to, I can go and give you more information.
Yeah, show them how when you get to like the organ vector or whatever, show them how they get there.
All right. So I kind of did, you know, normally I would have her information in here, like her email address and phone number and all that kind of stuff. And I just erased all that, her name and stuff like that. That way, just for privacy purposes. Okay. So, but normally you would just fill out the first name, last name, the gender, make sure you put the gender and do it correctly because I have had people put the wrong gender in there and it's going to say like the uterus is out of range, especially if you put it for a male and you do the scan and you don't have it selected for the right, you know, you want to make sure you have those organs in the right one. And then the email, the phone number, and then, you know, I don't normally put the address and stuff and then I just save that. So, so the first thing I did when so within 24 hours, I was back at my mom's house or I was down in North Carolina doing a scan on her because again, I'm feeling panicky, right? So the first thing I pulled up when I did it was her organs. Okay, this was 24 hours later. Now there are still some organs that are out of range. And so I just come here to the report and I just selected down to the organ report. And my computer looks like it's gonna be slow. Okay, so you can tell just by this one, we're doing much better. We've got some greens in here. We have heart was still 0. She does have a heart murmur that she's had since she was a little girl. So that, you know, I'm excited about these omegas, right? She's got her box today and she's already been taking the omegas, but she's going to bump up to these now. So we're going to see about what we can do for that. But her blood pressure is amazing, has always been on medication. And now she's having to reduce to hardly no medication now. But look how pretty these organs look within 24 hours of using recharge. I told her to use 2 recharge. She actually used 4. Okay. So that was kind of she decided, okay, I'm going to do double of what Rachel told me to do. She knew I was coming and she was on it. But can you see the difference here in this scan? I mean, this is, you know, we're still working on some areas, but there's hardly any reds and there's hardly any zeros. That to me tells you you need to be sharing the recharge with people. A lot of times people's organs are in bad shape because they're not hydrated enough, okay? So James has decided he's getting some hydration now. So we're all over here drinking our water, right? All right, so the pancreas, this is an issue that mom has had issues with. It is way better. So we know that she's still, we're still working through some of her organs. There's a thymus there. We're still working with the stomach, but these organs are majorly improved. When we first started 18 months ago scanning her for her cancer, I'm gonna tell you the organs looked horrible, okay? So I was super, super thrilled with this report within 24 hours. All right, and so I always start there at the organs. Is there any questions before we go on further on this one?
Well, hopefully we'll have time for Q&A.
Okay.
I don't really see anything. I think this is great. Just keep going and
Okay,
showing
keep
them.
going. All right, so and really, and just like Kevin, we were talking, he was talking at the when he was doing the thing. A lot of times in the very beginning, you might not even know what a hypothalamus gland is, and people are like, well, what does that do? All right. So don't let that overwhelm you, because really I didn't either. So just like Kevin said, he Googled like, what is the hypothalamus gland? What does it do? All right. Now I can just like, oh, the hypothalamus gland is the control tower, and I can spit it off. So don't let this overwhelm you. I mean, we know what kidneys though, but if you don't know it, I mean, just figure it out, just Google I have done that more than once. Like, what is the hypothalamus? What is the pineal gland? If I see somebody's pineal gland way out here, I'll be like, oh, you're not sleeping good, are you? They're like, no, how did you know? Well, your pineal gland is way out here, and that's the controls the wake and sleep cycle. So it's really amazing how you can put these organs, and that's why I love to come to the organs report at the first thing I do. And then I would just go down here to the ones, the reports that I pull up the most, and there's lots that you can do. So I focus on the wellness report, the organs. Sometimes, especially if I know that they have been to the if they're a person that goes to a chiropractor, I'll share one incident. And this was a few weeks ago. This man, and I don't have a scan pulled up, and I don't even remember his name right now, but he had a headache for 2 weeks. And so or not 2 weeks, excuse me, 2 years. And his wife had called me and said, hey, can you do a scan? I'm like, sure, I can come do a scan. And he was very put off, like, I don't even know why you're here. Like, and I was like trying to because I try to chit chat with him, like, are you any health issues? Do you have any organs removed? That type of thing. That way I can kind of get a feel for what's going on. I don't have any problems. I'm like, okay, that's great. I said, well, your wife just asked me to come in and do a Zyto scan for you. So anyway, let's just do your scan. So I started doing the scan on him, and he was still, I could tell he was very put off and aggravated that I was even there. And so I do the scan, and he like, one of his big things, he showed up for anger. And I just started laughing. I said, are you angry that I'm here? And I just started trying to make him more comfortable. I said, it's okay, And he says, yeah, I'm kind of aggravated. I said, well, I could tell. And anyway, by the time I finished, he was a totally different person. But one of the first things I looked at for him, because I knew that he had an issue with a headache, I pulled up the vertebrae. And so the vertebrae is going to be hooked to all kinds of organs right there. So his C1, this is mom's report, and her C1 looks fine, but his was clear out of range. And I said, have you ever been to a chiropractor? Well, it's been a long time. I said, that's why you have that headache. I said, and then I pulled up, we by that time I had pulled up Copaiba, and that's the oil he showed up for. And I'm like, okay, your Copaiba, do you have any of these symptoms? And I pulled up the oil life book, and he's like, oh yeah, I've had a headache for 2 years. I'm like, try putting that Copaiba on the brainstem. But the reason why is your C1 is totally out, and that right there is your vertebrae, and that controls your headaches. And so he started putting that on his brainstem. I tried to hold them off because Masters Club had a Master Club code for them that was going to start on the 1st. I'm like, just use these oils for just a couple days, and then I'll come back and we'll get you signed up. And by the time I got back, his wife wanted to scan too, and their daughter wanted to scan, and they end up signing with over 400 PV just because it had worked so good on him, just the Copaiba. All right, so this is just the basic wellness report. And to be honest with you, I don't spend a whole lot of time And this is just me. Kevin, you may do it a completely different way, and that's fine if you do. This is just the way I've been doing it and been doing it for so many years. So I don't spend a whole lot of time focusing on these things right here. Like mom came up for adaptive. Okay, great. She was probably stressed because she knew that I was stressed and coming there within 24 hours. And she was very nervous because she says, Rachel, when you get in that car and you come and you drive straight through, I know you're worried about something. And that makes her worried. So yes, she came up for adaptive. She was stressed. Okay. You notice that her pancreas was a little bit out. I'm sure that's probably why she came for MetaPower. She was already taking MetaPower. You notice that her heart was a little stressed. She was already taking Omega, but now, of course, she's going to be taking the extra Omegas. That's going to be a great option for her. And then, of course, the Zenderkin and things like that. So if you look at these, I just kind of glanced through them. I said, okay, mom, we're going to add Rose over your heart and Console over your heart and things like that. But really where I wanted to focus at with her, and this is where I focus at on everyone, is I don't really spend a lot of time in that, but you'll see those come up over and over again. But where I focus at is on the organs and the 4 core systems. And that's where I show up every single time, because that's really going to be where you're going to get to the nitty gritty of what's going on. Like those top things, yes, she was stressed and she needed adaptive because she was stressed because her organ report looked horrible and she knew it. And so that's why she came up for adaptive. But where I really focus in at, again, you'll see her hydration is still 0, but she was already improving. But when I got there, her skin was still, like if I pulled her skin up, it would just stand there. So I knew she was still dehydrated at that point. So hydration was still 0, but she was already starting to improve. Within just a few days, every single symptom that she had been having was totally gone within 48 hours of getting enough hydration. I mean, we're talking about, and I'll just be honest with you, since we're talking about health, but when she would have a bowel movement, she was having so much blood, which scared us because of her cancer. And that's where we had found out that she had cancer, was because she was losing blood the size of a softball. And so when she was seeing blood again, she was like, all of us like, oh no, is this happening again? Are we starting to, as the cancer, is it full blown again? So that's kind of what scared me in that situation. But thankfully, once she started hydrating, it come to find out it wasn't because of that at all. It was because she didn't have enough hydration. So, her constipation and things like that all went away with the recharge. Okay. So this scan tells me a whole lot. And at this point, I'm like, okay, mom, yeah, you're stressed out because, I'm stressed in here in North Carolina. But my big thing was, okay, you still need extra hydration. I want you to be drinking that recharge. And every single time I talk to her, almost every day, I say, Mom, are you staying hydrated? Mom, are you staying hydrated? But the thing of it is, and this is one thing to point out, she was drinking water. I had sent her recharge and she really wasn't drinking it. It was sitting in the cabinet and she was drinking water. I said, Mom, water is not enough. You need that recharge. You need those electrolytes. So it wasn't that she just wasn't drinking water, because she was drinking water. She just needed that recharge. Okay. So that when you see hydration is 0, you're going to know that they need some extra electrolytes. So then I just come down here and I focus on respiratory system and things like that. If we would have, probably should have went and showed you more of these stressors on the original one. But almost every single one of them, there was red. It was pretty much all 0s or all reds. There was nothing good at all in her scans. That was completely red or completely 0s. So on these situations, she's already taken Zenderkin complex. And a lot of times what I try to do is like focus on, I'm like, okay, we already have Zenderkin complex. Let's bump that up to maybe 2 a day if she's not already taken DO. I know she's taken DDR prime. She takes it twice a day. So I was like, okay, the big thing that stands out to me here, since you already taken Zenderkin, is your respiratory system is all the way out. There had been a virus going around and apparently she picked up on it, because you see viruses are 0. Okay. So then I'll say, let's just add a little extra breathe oil. And so I always, I have the supplement fact thing right here, and I always leave person with a plan. So I don't know if you can see this or not. But I okay, put the name, the date, and I'm gonna put she's already taken Zenderkin, so I'm not gonna add that, but I am gonna add, let's put breathe or cypress, over your chest. You're having respiratory, obviously there's a virus going around and you may have caught it. One thing, if I see electromagnetics, I always ask, Do you sleep with a cell phone by your bed at night that's plugged in? If you are, you're getting 500% radiation, more radiation. So it's a really good idea not to have that cell phone. And mama, of course, she's like, oh yeah, I guess I do sleep with the cell phone plugged up by my bed. I'm like, okay, let's just put that in the other room while you're sleeping at night, and it's not plugged up right there by your head, and you're getting extra electromagnetics at night. So that's kind of how I base that scan right there. And you really don't have to go into all those details, but you can make it as simple as you want to. The one thing I would say is do not let it overwhelm you. It can be a lot. And so you can make it as simple as you want to. And there's been times where I've just focused on, like, I'll ask the person, what is the biggest thing that you feel like you're dealing with? And if they tell me, and sometimes they're like, give me your top 3 health concerns. I can do the scan and it can be like all over the place, and you can't overwhelm them, or they're going to just overwhelmed mind is not going to do anything. So you try to make it as simple as possible. So if somebody's organs look as bad as mom's did, I know that mom is already doing the 90-day cleanse. She stays on that cleanse, okay? So it's not like I can put her on it. She's already doing the cleanse, okay? We've been doing the cleanse for 18 months. So I can't, all she needed was recharge. Basically, she needed recharge. She needed hydrating. Okay, but if somebody's organs look out of whack and they've not been a regular customer of doTERRA, they're not using any of the products, what I'm going to start them on is I'm immediately going to start them on a 90-day cleanse, okay? So for this right here, her pancreas needs some extra support. But I know mom personally, her pancreas is doing way, way better than it was. Her glucose levels are doing way, 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 way better than they were. So I'm not discouraged by this scan at all, because I've worked with mom. I remember when her parasite levels were off the chart they didn't move for 6 months. And when I started seeing this decrease, so this right here is super exciting to me, because I'm like, mom, look at your parasite levels. They're clear here. They're almost in range compared to where we started with, 18 months ago. So these are all, to me, very good signs. But
And were you doing parasite cleansing, or just using our products and over time it just cleared?
Oh yeah,
out?
so I've been doing major, when I'm dealing with somebody with a big health issue, we're getting rid of parasites. If you see somebody, let me see if mom came up for it. Okay, so she came up for Zenderkin, which, like I said, she's already on that. But a lot of times if I see somebody with parasites that are off the chart and liver issues, they're almost always going to come up for Forgive. I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. Let's put some Forgive on the bottom of your feet and over your stomach and around your liver. Super good. So Forgive is a super good oil to use for those. But for mom, staying off sugar was very important. Processed foods. And a lot of times, if I start somebody on a 90-day program, I'm going to ask, not ask, for mom, I told her, okay. But for the other person, I'm going to say, the cleanse is going to work better if you also try to, limit the amount of sugar and things like that. Of course, everybody's not going to do that.
Are you using any different products for parasites than ours, or are you just finding that ours over time, combined with these other things, lifestyle changes, seem to decrease that?
Well, James, you're asking hard questions right now, okay?
Sorry, people are asking in the chat, like, what do you use for a parasite cleanse, right?
Okay, that's another issue. That's another thing. But yes, I do like one other thing for parasites, but I'm not going to mention it tonight. You can text me personally, all right? Okay. But there's one other product that I use that's not in doTERRA, but I love to.
So do we. So do we. We have another product that for really intense.
Yes, mom had really intense. Okay. So if it's just something like that, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just like, okay, you're doing pretty good, because I know where you were and what you are now. So that's encouraging to me. But the ones that I like to, like, if someone has parasites, a lot of times the ones that I'm going to encourage them to do, a lot of times you'll see that the parasites, let's see what system we're in right now. Yes, gut. So we're in the gastrointestinal. A lot of times that's where the parasite things show up. So a lot of times mom's already on PB Restore, but a lot of times you'll see PB Restore come up. You'll see Forgive show up and things like that. So again, Zenderkin Complex is a great one as well. But I like to kill, just me personally, I like to kill them off with GX Assist too. I believe in GX Assist, and not just for 10 days. I personally take GX Assist often, very often, maybe like 2 or 3 times a day.
Right.
Okay.
And so, since you mentioned that, because I know this will come up, people are like, oh no, Dr. Hill said da da da. And so I just want everyone to know that I've talked with all the medical professionals and the
Mhm.
nutritionists at doTERRA, and that was old information. We now know from all kinds of new insights that you can take GX for an extended period of time because of the dosage is so low and yet still effective, and not have that be a negative thing. So just be aware.
Yes. Okay. All right. So again, this did not discourage me at all because I know where we were 18 months ago, and I know so I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously she was dealing with hormonal cancer. So I remember when that uterus looked absolutely horrible and the ovaries looked horrible and all that stuff. So we were coming a long ways. But what I did suggest, I was like, okay, so why don't we add, you're already doing Claricom, so we could add some basil in a capsule. So now she adds basil to her capsule, okay? So I don't use every single one of these. Being that she was already using some of the clary sage and stuff like that, I just had to add extra basil to that. So I try not to overwhelm them with that. Again, the omegas and things for heart showing up. But pretty much I don't let this overwhelm me, and I don't let it overwhelm the person. I just like don't choose every single one of them, or you're going to have them so overwhelmed they're not going to do anything. So a lot of times I just personally, either if their organs are horrible, I'll put them on a 90-day program, or I will choose some products for them. Like if I know that they are dealing with glucose levels that are unstabilized, I'm going to grab them some MetaPower soft gels. I'll put on here, Kevin Verbal, MetaPower soft gels, 3 capsules or 1 capsule 3 times a day, take with food. I'll add that, and maybe I'll definitely start them on some Zenderkin complex if they don't want to do a 90-day program. The majority of people, when they have a big health issue, they're definitely going to start a 90-day program. And that's where I lean into getting them on a 90-day program when they have a bigger health issue. But that's kind of, I asked mom, she was like I said, she was already taking 4 recharge there. So she didn't show up for recharge. So she was taking enough of it at that point. But on the first scan, she showed up for 2 different, both the lemon lime and the strawberry. All right, so does this answer the questions good enough, or you need to keep going? I want to give Kevin plenty of time to talk to, because I know he does it probably a different way than I do. That's just how I do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
if you need a couple more minutes, there's value there. So if there's something else you feel like
And I can also bring up the slide that shows people how to purchase it right now. Maybe that's definitely one thing that they're probably wondering. And there is a special actually until the 30th. But we can, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, let me go over a couple of the questions that people had sent me today, and let me just see if I've answered that. So this is one thing that I do different than Kevin, and Kevin, I admire you for this. I don't charge people for scans, just never have. But when you said that you charge, I'm like, okay, there you go. But most of the time what I do is because people say, like, how much do you charge for a scan? I don't normally charge for a scan. So I tell them, I'd rather you put that money on your order. And so, but a lot of times if I go in there, sometimes they give donations and stuff like that. And so it is totally, Kevin, you go in there and charge for the scan. That is perfectly fine. I had the first person that scanned me and my family, she charged per individual. And to me, I'm like, I've got 4 kids and me and my husband. So that ended up costing me quite a bit of money, where I could have put it on the product. So I was just a little, and I didn't really have a lot of money at that point. So I was kind of a little put off because it was my upline. I'm like, hey, you should have done this for me. I'm the one that's making you money. So, but Kevin, if you charge per scan, I'm totally fine with that. But that's a question that I have gotten. And how in depth are you trying to explain the scan? And this is another thing. If the person talks to me before, and I like to get information before the scan. So just a few weeks ago, I was called out, and the thing of it is, I get called out for really, really, really big issues. Like, it's not normally just my toe hurts thing. It's like, hey, my husband has stage 4 cancer. Can you come and give me some answers? And you always have to be very, very careful in what you're saying. I never, ever one time will tell anybody, I can cure this. Let me come out. I can promise you. I am not going to say that. And you have to be very, very careful with that. So when this lady tells me that her husband has stage 4 lung cancer, and I just be honest, I said, I honestly can't promise you anything, but you know, these are the scans, these are the oils he came up for, and I would do these to support his body and help to, just see what can happen with that. Well, within just a few days, I got another message saying, oh my goodness, that breathe and that frankincense and that Eric's has made such a tremendous difference in him. Thank you so much. He's now able to lay in the bed and sleep with no health issue, with no breathing issues. Okay, that makes me feel good. Now, I don't know what the income results are going to be, but my philosophy is let's help him be comfortable and live long as life as God allows them, but be comfortable in the process and, leave the rest up to God to do. So how that's, I go, depending on what they've told me is how in depth I go. Sometimes if I see, and it just depends, like if I see a little girl, and I see a lot of this happen a lot of times, especially in teenage years, and endocrine disruptors are clear off here all the time, I'm going to say, all right, are you spraying perfume on your throat, and what are you washing your body up with? Are you doing a lot of endocrine disruptor things, because that can definitely play a whole lot into it. For me, I know that Mama's used to do all that stuff and now she doesn't, so I don't have to ask her those questions. So it depends on how in depth you want to take it, because you can take the scan and you can spend hours on a scan. I personally don't have time to do hours and hours and hours on a person's scan. So it depends on how much they open up to me and talk to me. Will I go into this? Because you could spend a long time. So I basically ask them, like, what are your 3 top, what are your things that you're worried about? If it's sleep, then we're going to come right down here to sleep, and we're going to say, okay, these are the things that you came up for sleep. If their biggest thing is I'm dealing with a lot of inflammation and things like that in my body, then we're going to come to the inflammatory thing. So I usually just have them pick out a few things that they're dealing with and go from there. All right, so another question was, do I print it out for them? No, I don't print this out for them. I would take up a lot of ink, so no, absolutely not. I'll email it to them if they want to do that, but I don't print it out for them. Most of the time, it's around 30 minutes per person per scan is the amount of time it normally takes to go through a scan. Kevin, I saw your eyebrows raised. Do you take a lot shorter time?
No, I usually take about an hour.
Okay.
I do mine. So
and you can, yeah. And so it can, you can spend an hour. It depends on how in depth you want to go through. I've had to learn how to do it pretty quickly, especially when I was doing pushing for Founders Club, Founder 2.0, and there would be a room of 30 people waiting for scans. I had to learn how to do it a little quicker, or we would have been there for 30 hours. So, yeah.
Well, and this is great. We're getting your perspective, how you use it. The more perspectives we have, the more
absolutely
different people's needs or ways with this will match
up. And if it's just one person and I don't have a group of 10 people waiting on scans, I'll spend more time and, let's chat about all of your different health issues. But if I'm doing bam, 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 bam scans, and sometimes I do scans for 18 hours a day, I don't have time to spend, 2 hours on each scan. That might be another reason why I don't charge for it. Okay, if you're spending an hour with each scan and going over every little detail, then yes, that would be another situation.
Susanna Hobelman is really trying to get you to talk about the facial response to a bad scan.
Okay, so here's another thing you don't, and I shared this at the Goddard thing. Okay, so if I had been doing mom's scan and I had seen all those zeros, even when I called mom, because I told my friend, I said, just send me the report. Don't let mom see it. Just send it to me. Okay. So when I called mom, and she says, Rachel, what does the scan look like? I said, oh, mom, I said, and I always try to put a very calm presence around it. And I says, Mom, there are some organs that look pretty bad. I said, but I think the whole problem is you're not hydrated. I said, so I'm going to be there in 24 hours and you're going to hydrate majorly between now and then. All right. So I didn't say, oh, Mom, I think you're dying with cancer. I think your organs, I didn't go into this, and my eyes didn't get big. And I'm like, if you do that, you're going to scare that person totally and you're going to lose them. You have to have a very calm presence about you, because if I would have treated mom that, she would have been, by the time I would have got down, it would have been in her head, I'm dying and Rachel thinks I'm dying and my organs are shutting down and I'm probably not going to make it. And if you get something like that in your brain, it actually can really do a lot of damage. So you have to be very calm and the way you present it and things like that. So, that's how I do it. I never like, oh my goodness. I don't do that. I just like, oh, well, let's just do this. This will support your body. Okay. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, we want to make people feel comfortable. There's a
Exactly.
plan, there's a
Come up with a
solution.
plan.
We see
Yes.
that there's challenges, but hey, we can fix this.
Yes, everything is fixable. We'll just do our best to support the body. And I never tell, I'm not going to say I can cure you. Even with mom, I said, Mom, I cannot promise you anything except that you're going to have a much more quality of life if you take out the bad and put in the good, and let's just leave it up to God. And that's kind of how I left it with mom, and that's how she chose to do the natural route.
And I know there's a lot more questions that we probably can't answer tonight. So I just want to mention one thing. I have a slide that has a QR code for the entire YouTube tutorial playlist of Zyto Balance trainings that you guys can watch later. There is a lot to learn, and you absolutely can do that. I just don't want people to think we're going to have time to answer all their extensive questions.
What I mentioned is that we're going to go ahead and I think at this point try to move in, but to the next presenter. But we'll see what time we finish. People are putting their questions in the Q&A, and then if we have enough time at the end, we can answer those based on the time that presenters have available left to answer those.
I can come in and answer some of the questions.
Yeah, jump in the Q&A. That's great. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so Rachel, thank you. I mean, I could spend 2 hours listening to you talk about this, and I know it's super possible to do that, right? And then when I interviewed and talked to Kevin, I was like, oh man, you got some good stuff going on too, man. Bring it, right? And so it's so great. And we got the male and female perspective too, which is great. We need more dudes of doTERRA and just to balance things out, right? So this is Kevin Barble, and I met him. I was referred to him through someone else that he was using the Zyto. He is basically just kind of started recently, really, with doTERRA, was something he never really wanted to do. Saw other people doing it. I'm never going to do that. And then through his own health journey, found Zyto, and then began to utilize this and began to enroll people to the point where I think he's going on the next incentive trip with this thing because of what he's done with it. And he's moving up in the ranks from ground zero to what, you're a silver now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's already can see his sights for diamond with this program. So Kevin, take it away.
So I appreciate you allowing me to jump on. And Rachel, you did a phenomenal job. And I love that we all approach this differently. And that's the unique thing about this is you can do it however works for you. And so my come from tonight is going to be a guy that just kind of figured it out. And so I'm going to recap on some of the slides I did on Tuesday night last week. So if there's people on here that don't know who I am, this is who I am. When this came about, I'm like, who am I to do this? I'm no health expert. I don't know anything. And, I am not like an oil guy. Like I've been around oil people and doTERRA people, but that wasn't me. That wasn't my identity. And I'm like, I don't know anything. Right. And I don't even know the body. My wife is a massage and cranial psychotherapist for 20 plus years. Like she's been in the space of like the body, right? She knows it inside and out and how it works, how it functions. And for me, I'm a construction dude. Like I come from a background. I spent many years in construction, building retaining walls, and as you can see, operating excavators, like large equipment. That was me until I hurt myself. And then I went into public speaking and absolutely loved that. Fantastic journey. And then I started my own business. I just felt it was time to branch out. And shortly after I started my own business, that's where my health really took a dive. So about 5 years ago is when that happened. And it got to the point I went through 2 back surgeries. I ended up being bedridden. And I was on a hunt, like how to take care of myself. And that's kind of where things got like navigated to, like, okay, what can I do to support me? and someone did a scan for me like, hey, this could help. And I'm like, yeah, I've done everything else, every lotion, potion, you name it. I've tried it and it hasn't worked. So when someone offered a Zyto for me, I'm like, is it going to work? Is it going to help? I don't know. So as I started like down this path, I was like, okay, what do I have to lose? After I did the scan, got offered to start down this path, to join my wife. She'd been doing doTERRA for a bit, and I'm like, I really don't want to, but what do I have to lose? Like what? So why not? So I got the Zyto Bounce. That's just what made sense to me. And there's that little cradle, as you can see here, and that's the device you put your hand on. And you guys, I didn't know what I was doing when I got started. I had no idea. But what I did is I posted on Facebook if someone wanted to be my volunteer. And I was looking for 20 people. That's all I wanted. It was 20 people to practice on. And I put on there the scans valued at $250. Next thing I knew is I had over 50 people within a couple of days that wanted to scan. And I was like, crap, now what? I didn't know what to do next. And so I just started scanning. Once again, didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. People drove 2, 3, and even 4 hours. I was shocked. I'm like, why would people come to me? And so like I had this internal battle, like, can I do this? I don't know. So I'm there scanning as the professional, right? But I'm like having doubts with myself. So Google became my best friend forever. I'd be in the middle of appointments and I did not know different organs, different things. And so I'd search and I'd pull it up with them, and it was cool because they knew that I was practicing up first, because I had to figure things out. And so people were like, all right, that's fine. So at the presentation on Tuesday, like when this first came up on one of the reports, was like glyphosates, I don't know. And I didn't know what that was. And so I took the time to start doing research. After I did the appointment, I'd go, I'd start researching what the different things were that were showing up on the reports. Mycotoxins. Now, truth be told, when I had my own scan for the first time, mycotoxins were pretty lit up. It was in the red. And I had no idea. And the person that scanned me is like, hey, it's really bad. And you're going to want to go do some research and get this taken care of. Like, what is it? She's like, I'm not going to tell you. Crap. So I went and spent a lot of time like researching a lot of hours. And it's mold and fungi is what it is. And it's not the good mold and fungi in your body. And it can wreak havoc on your body. And if left unaddressed, it could lead to cancer. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like to me, like it was important for me to understand what was going on, but I wanted to like help other people as I'm doing more scans, help them understand like what it is, but not like do any claims or diagnosing someone with what they have. It's more of like, hey, this is what it is. This is what's it's sensing. And then here's some things you can do to like support your health. And then the hypothalamus gland, had no idea what that was. Now I know. So as you can gather, I've said it multiple times, I had no idea what I was doing. First client that said yes to me, that was ready to get something, I was like, how do you create a doTERRA account? So I had to ask my wife, I'm like, how do you do it? And for the first several, I couldn't remember. And so she'd have to come in and set up the account. And now it's easy. Like I get it. But for a guy that was trying to figure it out, I'm like, only way I'm going to figure it out is by doing. That's it. By doing, by taking action and stumbling along the way as I was figuring things out. So all I knew at that time as I was getting started is I sucked. The only way I was going to get better was by doing. Okay. So within 5 scans, I made a cell. And within 10, I realized I had to do something different. Things were not working. I was taking longer than an hour on some of them. And I was like, I've got so many people lining up. I need to do it faster. I need to get a system. And then I focused more on the supplements. Was my jam. Like I like the oils, but the supplements is what changed my life personally. And my health took a turn for the better when I started using doTERRA's supplements. And when I started diving in, this is what I did. I stopped listening to music and watching random YouTube stuff. Like I knew if I was going to take this seriously and treat it like a business, right? I'm like, I got to take action differently than what I was doing. And so I started working on my skill set. I started plugging into the Ultimate Human podcast, absolutely loved, and Gary Brecka's and his take on the mind, the body. Just I really plugged into his stuff. The Human Lab, I started listening to a bunch of his stuff. And then I opened up the Essential Oils Life book and I started geeking out. And I still remember one of the first times Charlotte gets home and I'm like totally geeking out about like hormones and like all these other parts of like the body and using the book. And I'm like, hey, check this out. And she's like, yeah, that's cool. I know that. And I'm like, but I didn't. I'm flipping all these pages and like highlighting stuff. And I'm like, babe, I'm actually liking the body now. She's like, that's good. That's good. And so for me, when things would come up, I'd go grab the Essential Life book and I'd like flip through and like find out like how do the oils pertain, like how to detox, how to this and that. And then I would grab like other books in as well. And then I started thinking, okay, I've got my skill set, but I need my mindset. And if you're not familiar with Myron Golden, go check him out. And on here it says he's a Bible study. He's not that. He teaches how to do business through the Bible. And he has been like mind blowing for me the last couple months as I've dived into like, God's word through the Bible, how to build a business. Cause like I had all these things that I was like plugging into for like this, like how to use the oils and the supplements, but I'm like, I need God's direction, like how to build a business, how to be successful. And if God's your thing, fantastic. If not, that's fine. Go find something that's going to help you with your mindset. So it makes it so that you can move forward. Then I started going back to some of the books that I have listened to in the past. And you'll see in this slide that there are several of these books that are cells. And I've talked to different people in doTERRA and they don't like the S word, cells. I'm like, as a rep, like your job is to help someone understand the outcome, what they're doing moving forward. And some may call it cells. I like to call it cells. And I love books like this that have changed how I think about providing a solution for someone. And one that really changed the way I view things is the sell or be sold. I listened to this one several years ago, over and over. And as I listened to it each time, my sales closing ratio went up over and over and over. And I tell you what, like these help because it gives you an idea, like how can you present something different in a way that it helps the other person that's receiving the information to move forward. So I plugged into all these different books and I continued to use Google as I didn't understand and like what was going on, the systems. After doing it probably about, I think it was like 50, 60 scans, I realized I need a system to track people and what's going on. So I created a spreadsheet of like first name, last name, their email, phone number. And I started taking notes because like for me, I needed to like track what they're doing. And if I put someone on a 90-day protocol, like then along the way, how to follow up or when to follow up. So I was tracking everything. And it's been it's saved my bacon multiple times as I've been able to go back to my spreadsheet and look at what happened during that session, what they ordered, or if I need to follow up with them. And so I'd highly recommend like tracking what you do. Another thing that I started to find that was very beneficial is I started like keeping notes on my phone. So you can see here, there's a list of several different notes I have specifically through to doTERRA. So the top here, you can see like a 30-day cleanse. Or if I come down here, there's for experienced doTERRA coming to an event, or there's like grounding sheets when someone's dealing with electromagnetic within their body. That was something that kept coming up, or the books that I would often recommend people. So I made it just something that's quicker. So in that moment, I can share with people and stay more organized and not get so like flustered in the moment. Like, where did I keep that? So it can be more smooth. Okay, now a couple of things I want to jump in here on like the back end of setting up the Zyto. For those that are looking at getting the balance, it's like I absolutely love it. I got the link, so I'm gonna start using that as well. But I love the balance. When setting up the products in the back end, you'll want to go in and take out the products that aren't supposed to be there. And what I mean by that is there are some that are that are from other countries or that go to other countries. So when you're doing the reports, I started noticing other products. I'm like, what in the world is this? And I try to look for it and I couldn't find it. I'm like, oh, it's the product from another country. So I made that adjustment on the back end. So I didn't have like random things showing up. The next thing that you can adjust on the back end, and all this, like how to do it, is on Zyto's training. But going in on the services, so at the end of the report, it will spit out services that will be recommended. And if you don't know what the service is, it's hard to talk about it and let them know what it is. So you can go in to the back end and select what services that you're comfortable explaining. And so then you're confident at the end of like what services. So I talked about the Zyto training, like go through it, utilize it. This is on their website, plug into what they have available. And that's what's really helped me to start understanding like the different, like the biomarkers, what they are, how to explain them better to people, is by utilizing that. Also, Zyto has a bunch of videos on YouTube that you can plug in and watch the videos so you become more familiar with like the scales or the numbers, the positive, the negatives. There's a lot of material. So if you're considering using the Zyto balance, there's a lot of information to support you. It's just you got to put in the time to learn to know how to use it. And for the first 3 months, I did not know that there is a link that takes you directly to the library, and it will go over the different sections. I was like, that'd be so nice to have when I first got started. So thank you for all of your, hopefully this helps one of you, I should say, having this link that provides more information just to help you along the way. Okay. So you might be thinking, Kevin, this is great information. This is awesome. How did you get started? And this is one of the number one things that I get asked is, what do you do? How do you get clients? You're just starting. And so I did the social media post. I plugged into some of my wife's clients. And then I created an email that I could send out to people to explain more about the health scan. Because a lot of people are like, now, what is this? And so I had to simplify explaining what it is because I found that people wanted the information. And so I have an email I put together. This is just part of the email that I would use to send out to people when there's interest, or if I get someone that's referred to me. I also joined a BNI networking group, so Business International Networking Group. And that's been a place that I've been able to connect with other business owners in the community and refer business back and forth. So I've utilized social media, email list, then BNI, and a couple other networking things. So just being active and proactive and getting out there and talking to people to let them know, like, I'm the scan guy. Like I'm here to support them. Yes, I do charge. And that's something at first, the first 50 I didn't charge. And then about 50-ish, just after 50, people like, hey, can I start paying you? And I'm like, sure. So I started getting $50 every scan. And then after a few more scans, people like, you're not charging enough, Kevin. I'm like, okay. So at this point, I'm charging $100 per scan. And for me, what I found for myself is those that were free or not paying, they were less likely to move forward and do something. But those that are, paying, I found for myself that they were more likely to invest in their health, like $200, $300, $400, $500 in an order. And they were more committed in moving forward and doing like a long-term order. So anyway, so I started scanning or charging people. I created a Calendly link so that to help keep my schedule organized, because I'd have people back to back, 3, 4, 5, 7 scans in a day. And then I'm like, okay, I've got to make it simplified. And so I had a Calendly that I put together so people can just go on and schedule it out. And that was helpful to just free up my mind, like now who wanted what, where. And so I created the Calendly. So now jumping into reading the report. This is like, for me, like I'm just figuring things out and I'm still learning on it, like how to read the report. And this is an actual scan of someone. I don't have any identifying info on here, but I also have permission for this person. But what I do is I explain like what the dots are. I explain that there's 197 biomarkers that were measured. So measurements going into the body. And so the in range is 105 and the out of range is 92. Now, the idea here is to bring all of the red dots into balance with the green. And so as we go through the report, we'll look at things that we can do either lifestyle or that we can do through supplementation that will help bring those things back into balance so you can have more energy, longevity, those kind of things. And then I explained like their unique range is a 6.23. And I said, I'll get to that here in a minute. And then the next section will go into starting to explain their baseline, where they're at. And this is where, for me, is where I get to know where they're at with doTERRA. And what I mean by that is I'm based out of Utah, and a lot of people have a doTERRA account. And I needed to figure out for myself, like, okay, do they have an account? Are they actively using it? Like, whatever. And so here I'll talk to them about, okay, now this next section will give recommendations based upon the findings of supplementation that can help support you in bringing those back into balance. And I've got this program connected to doTERRA. Are you familiar with doTERRA? And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. And I'm like, do you use the products? And I get a yes or no. And often what I found is they are familiar with the oils, but they're not familiar with the supplements. I'm like, okay, this is where I'll share with them. Like, what you might have not known is doTERRA has a fantastic product line of supplements. And here you'll see that the first suggestion in this specific scan, the ginger drops will bring 76 of those biomarkers back into balance by using this one product. And usually everyone's like, oh my gosh, just that one thing. And I'm like, yeah, super cool, huh? I'm like, and also like utilizing the omega will bring 13 by taking 4 capsules 1 time per day. They're like, serious? I'm like, it's a progression from where it was, your baseline. And as you utilize the supplements, it brings more of those pieces into balance. And by this point, they're like, that is cool. Like, let's keep going. And so we go look at this piece here. And here I'm like, we'll have a write-up of all the products. They'll have description, cautions, usage, all that stuff. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to bore you right now and read all the stuff. I'll email it to you. How's that? They're like, cool. Because what I kept hearing later on, like, will you be emailing this to me? So instead of waiting until I asked, I decided to put that in here. Like, I'll email it to you so you can read all this stuff if you'd like. They're like, cool. So for me, I focus on this chart here. And I go over the 4 core body systems for wellness. And I tell them, we'll look at the detoxification, gastrointestinal, hormone, endocrine, immune systems. And through these different systems, you can see that the red is the most stressed. And your baseline that we talked about previously is the 6.23. Now, this is going to stay consistent throughout the rest of the report. It's kind of like your baseline. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, so we're going to really dive into the more stressed areas. And now you can see, like, within the detoxification, it's not clear in the red or the orange, which is totally cool. But what we'll do is we'll actually look at the different categories. For example, with the detoxification, we'll dive in and look at what's causing the detoxification system to be stressed. Now, with this person, the respiratory, the gastrointestinal system, and the pesticides, insecticides. So I'm like, I usually just focus on the top ones, the ones in the red and orange, because I don't want to overwhelm them. Because there's so much. There's pages and pages, 15 to 25 pages that we can dive into all this information. And so, like, I'll give us some tips. So, like, lifestyle, like for the respiratory, yeah, there's specific things they can do. And so I talked to them about doing breath work and help support the respiratory. So there's box breathing, there's Wim Hof, and there's things like that, and often people are familiar with like breath work. So I'm like, okay, this would be really good, a couple times a week to strengthen your lungs. And I'm like, oh, cool. Because for me, like, I want to provide solutions of lifestyle things they can do, so it doesn't always seem like salesy through the whole entire conversation. That yes, I'm going to share information about what supplements they can use, but also lifestyle things. So, like, for example, the pesticides and insecticides. When it's lit up, and a lot of people, it's lit up in the orange or the red, I'll tell them, I ask them, do you wash your fruits and vegetables with a vegetable wash? 99% of the people just wash them with water. I'm like, with all the chemicals that are out there, you're going to want to wash your fruits and vegetables with a vegetable wash, like a vinegar, white vinegar, and baking soda.
Or we use the doTERRA hand soap to wash our vegetables. So
yes, and we do that as well. And so like apples, like salad or lettuce, we'll soak that in the water. But like with apples, grapes, that we'll use the doTERRA product. So yeah, I just provide them information of what they can do to help better the stressors. And I don't go into every single piece. Now, if there's something in here that I'm like, hey, you might want to consider cleaning up your water, where you're drinking your water, and they'll ask them, are you drinking tap water? And often people do, and I'm like, well, tap water isn't the best. There's other solutions out there that are better for you, so that's more filtered, or drinking water from a well or something like that. So I spend a little bit of time on each one, and then I'll touch on the supplements at the bottom. Most categories will have supplement suggestions, and so I'll briefly touch on the recommendations, because sometimes these here will be different from what was at the top at the very beginning, and people like to look for patterns within it. And so I started pointing out, okay, if xenochrine keeps showing up, then that's something to note for yourself of like, okay, with the xenochrine detoxification complex, it helps your body to detox. Another fun section for a lot of people, but not for some, is the emotion one. And I like utilizing this piece for the sake of helping people move emotions, because emotions are not meant to be stored in the body. Emotions are meant to move. And so I will touch on a piece here of like, identifying or showing them like there's different emotions, like the worry, hate, tense, whatever. But it's utilizing a sentence such as this: I feel blank, insert negative emotion because, and having to do a writing exercise to help them move through emotions. And that this specific technique is help me like manage emotions and work through emotions. And so the specific technique is, use a sentence, fill up a full page, and then once you're done, rip it up, throw it away. Because you're showing your subconscious and your mind that you are in charge of your emotions, and your emotions are not in charge of you. And people are like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And it allows parents to also teach their children how to manage their emotions so they don't get stored up in their body. Okay. And then at the end, it'll spit out their services. And so I'll touch on the different services and give suggestions based upon what shows up, who they can plug into and get support that way. And the biggest thing here is to have fun. Like, really, at times it can be very like stressful, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. But then other times, like, I'm just going into this appointment to have fun and figure things out. And miracle after miracle show like happens. And I just did a scan yesterday for a family of 8. And the mom just felt within herself like there's a lot going on in the family. And so I did the scans, and we touched on a couple of things. We're going to review the rest of the scans tomorrow. And she's like, this is an answer to my prayer. Like, this is so helpful. Like, so helpful. And I'm like, once again, going back to the very beginning, like, who am I to do a scan for someone? Right? But I think of at this point now is like, who am I not to be that person to help someone with their health, put their health in a better position? Because yes, I came from several years of a lot of health issues, and I'm like, thank you to the person who shared the Zyto scan with me, so I could improve myself and get out of bed and function as a father, function as a dad, right, as a husband. So it's a super amazing tool. And I absolutely love using it. Is there a learning curve? Yes. Can you do it? If I can do it, you can do it. So there you go, James. There you go, man.
Awesome. Love it, man. 2 powerhouse presenters showing us the balance. If you're watching this, you should recognize that this could be an effective tool for you. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. Hang tight. If we get time, we might, I don't know if we'll get time, but we might have a few Q&A moments. And those of you who have been asking questions in the Q&A, you can go into that Q&A box section there and look at some of those may have been answered, and you can find some of the answers there that have been answered. So we want to jump into the beautiful Roxanne Bybee. Of course, I'm biased, but I do think she is beautiful. And I think others think so too. But anyway, but I've got her, so you can't have her. Anyway, the point is she is presidential diamond. We've been around the balance and Zyto devices for years, and she has now dove in the last few months into the Zyto link, having some serious fun with it, especially where we have people all over the world and we can send them a link and we can't sit with them one-on-one to do this. So let's hear how it works, Roxanne.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this is just that slide I mentioned earlier that I was going to share with you guys, because I know if you're considering the Zyto balance, you're going to want to save this money because it isn't as affordable as the link. Okay. It does normally cost $3.99. Right now, they're offering a convention promo of $2.99. So you're going to save $100 on that. They're not going to charge the first month's service fee. So that's also another $50 saving. They're not charging shipping. So it's going to cost you $50 a month after that first 30 days. And you'll need to send an email to that email address right there on the bottom. It's a very manual process for this, guys. They had a link, but it timed out and they want to do it this way now. So I've been emailing them. Okay. So you'd have to send that email buyer before September 30th. And if you don't get it in to them, you will not get that pricing. Okay. And remember, if you don't currently own a PC, you're going to need to get one as well. So just kind of plan that into your business expenses. Okay. And if you were thinking, oops, this was a slide we had earlier. Okay. If you were thinking, hey, I just need more info, I don't understand, don't worry. Those 2 presentations were incredible. But if you still have more questions that we didn't get to tonight, and a little bit more detail, if you scan that with your phone, hopefully you're not on the phone for this, but if worst case scenario, you could also type in Zyto balance tutorials in YouTube, and you're going to find their playlist, guys, and it's going to go through all of those. Okay. Because there's like a lot of people doing them, but you want the companies. Okay. All right. Hopefully that will help you. Now, I have had people being like, now when are we talking about the link? But we really did want to show you. I can't say that I am enrolling a ton of people using this yet. Okay. I have started using the link. I had definitely spent more time using the balance than I had the link, but I've petered off because of some of the tech issues sometimes with trying to use my laptop and all these problems, right? And so I'm enjoying the link, and it is something that uses the phone. And so that is very handy because most people have a phone. But I will address this really quickly because a lot of people want to know Droid, iPhone. It works on both, but occasionally there will be some Droids or older iPhones that it will not work on. So usually if the phone is older than like an iPhone 7, it's not going to work. And so I have people that when they can't get it to work and they really like their phone, then I'm like, you just need to get scanned on the balance, right? So this is basically, that's an image of what the scan looks like, but I just kind of want to quickly, compare why you might want to look at the link. It does use a phone. It is remote or local, meaning I can do it with someone right in their person. Like when they say to me, oh, my phone doesn't work on this or something, then I just need to get together with them. I can still use my phone to do their scan. And of course, it does give them data, just like the balance. It's a bit different. It doesn't give an organ report like you've gotten to see tonight. But it actually, if you watch some of Zyto's stuff about the link, you might get slightly convinced that this data is better. It just depends on how but basically it's a more updated version, okay? And so this data means people are going to give you less no's as far as trying to get you to meet up with them, okay? More yeses, more yeses. All right, cool. Now, this is one of the reasons that, people want to know their results. They're curious, right? Maybe they aren't as curious about essential oils anymore, but they're curious about their results on their health scan. So I definitely have been able to get people to say yes to me about, hey, do you want to, and this is existing customers, new customers. It's definitely an easy conversation. And this is one thing Zyto has this in one of their trainings. Okay. This is where I got this. We always need to clarify, right? We're not diagnosing or treating any conditions or diseases. But this is what the link's going to do for them, right? It's going to help them keep up with their body's changing needs. You'll have people who say to you, like, I don't need a health scan. I don't have any health problems. Like the guy that told Rachel that he didn't have any problems, right? Because even though he's had a headache for 2 years. So these are some of the ways you can kind of help maybe mitigate some of those comments, right? Hey, everyone has needs. This is not bad. It is normal. We all have needs. Think of this scan like your dashboard on your car. It tells you what's going on and how you could possibly help your car, right? You might need an oil change, or you might need your tires checked, right? So now you become more of an active participant in your health and wellness versus like an onlooker from the side. And it recommends products and services, right? And I love what Kevin was teaching earlier. You can tweak those services also in the link so that it doesn't just give them everything. And the tech that's being used is called transdermal optical imaging. And that would be important if you're going to use this, that you actually do memorize that. You can call it TOI if you want, but it's transdermal optical imaging, okay? And people can actually, I'm going to show you some data on that, but this is basically like, people ask me like, how do I explain that science? And this is like, I would take a picture of this if I were considering using the link, so that you could maybe memorize this statement or make it flow somehow. But this is going to make you feel a lot more confident when you're trying to explain the TOI. But people can literally type this into any search engine and get some data. And I'm going to show you, I have a couple of reports that, here is just a reference to the fact that it is extremely accurate. They have shown in studies that it's very similar to what they find with an EKG, which I'm like, okay, wow, that's saying something, right? So this is not just some lame tech that doesn't actually work. Here are 2 pieces of data. You can take a picture of these. I know they kind of look small on your side, but this came from one of the trainings that I watched on Zyto Link from YouTube. That's their Zyto Link channel and has all their tutorials. But that is one thing they recommend. Tell your people, if they don't trust the science, tell them to type into any search engine, transdermal optical imaging studies, and they're going to get a ton of studies because this is new and up and coming science, and it is very credible, okay? And once again, I'm not trying to pit the link against the balance. I'm just trying to show you guys options. And so if you haven't started anywhere and you're not wanting to manage the tech that's involved in the balance, the thing that Kevin and Rachel can show is like tons of enrollments. And that to me is really valid. And I think that's a big part of why we wanted them to hit tonight on the balance, is even though the tech might be a little bit older, it's working, right? And so we know that you can do it. Okay, this was actually where I was going to walk you guys through a scan on my phone, but as luck would have it tonight, the app usually works just fine, you guys. But classically, it is freaking out and I can't seem to get it to work. And I have asked a couple other
Well, a
people.
lot of people are saying in the chat that they've been getting error.
Yeah, so maybe it's getting hit hard tonight. I don't know what's
Hey,
happening.
Roxanne.
Yeah.
I've been trying since Sunday to send off a link and it's not worked since Sunday. So,
Oh gosh.
yeah,
Okay. Well, there you go. I know I have a direct contact there that's been helping me with all this stuff. And I sent him a message and said, as luck would have it, right? While I'm trying to present this. But okay,
Yeah.
so we'll go over some info.
And yeah,
anyway.
we'll make sure to get on them about making that.
Yeah.
whatever,
I will
it's
tell you guys
unfortunate.
this, like, actually, it's been working really great. I haven't had that many times, and I don't know, Rachel maybe has had, issues, but I really, honestly, most of the time have had it, no problem.
So one thing, Roxanne, I use
Yeah.
I use the balance and the link. I've used it in both situations. Here's the pros and cons about it. You have to have good signal. So if I go to an area and
True,
I use
true.
it like if it's a baby, I love to do a link because it's done in 30 seconds, So I love doing a link.
Faster.
But
Yeah.
if you do not have good signal in the area, it will not pick up. So that's one thing that is a problem with the link.
Good point.
But I
Yeah.
love that it's done in 30 seconds and the baby don't have to sit there for 5
Really
minutes.
fast. Yeah, it is
So
faster.
that's
Yeah.
perfect. So I'll just have like the parent hold the baby's head. I'll hold the phone up and do the scan and we've got it done. If I have good signal, if I don't have good signal, I might as well forget it. We won't work it.
Well, and I guess
As-
you said you sometimes use the baby's leg or feet or something with the balance. When you don't have good signal, it'll totally work, right? Because it's all on the
Yeah.
laptop,
So
right?
The beautiful
balance,
thing
the
is
balance,
it
you don't have
will-
to have signal.
If you don't have a good cellular signal, but somebody has Wi-Fi and you can get on their Wi-Fi, then it should still work through that, even if you don't have a cellular signal.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, if you didn't, but if you're in the middle of like trying to do somewhere random, that's a great point.
And
Yeah, I mean, if someone can afford it, actually, I kind of am like, when you should do like Rachel, right? Have both because now you have options, right?
Yeah.
It's really wise.
the other thing I was going to mention too
Yeah.
is we have a call for Power Me on October 3rd.
Oh, I have a slide for that too.
Yeah,
honey.
I know. And we'll get to it, but I'm just mentioning right now, maybe on that call, we'll have some time at the end of that to do a demo if it's working then, and we'll have that recording as well. So
True. I have some slides. I can definitely explain a few things still. That was where I was going to start doing the walkthrough and, can't, but it's okay. I'll show you some more. Okay. So one of the other things that actually one of my teammates, Catherine, showed me this. It was so funny. So there's a way when I first started using the link, I thought the only way to create a client profile or basically scan someone was the regular way. And I had not watched all the training. And so one of my teammates found it and she said, oh, did you know you can do this remote sign up link? And that is really cool because it takes less time as far as I'm concerned. It is a little bit easier. So with the regular way, you're basically actually, asking people, hey, can you send me your birth date, your email, your phone number, blah, blah, right? And you're putting that in really quickly. And then you're sending them a link that they pull up through their email from their phone and then follow the instructions that way. Okay. So it does take longer, but I will say this about the regular way is that I actually, I like it if I'm going to go the route of what Kevin does, which is, supplements only, because that's where you could actually tweak what they're going to pull up. Where if you do the remote sign up, you cannot do that. It's just going to load everything that is there because it's more on their end. So the remote sign up link, you literally send them a link, they go in and do everything. I don't have to put their birth date. I don't have to put any of their personal information. It takes 2 seconds. So that is really what I've been doing mostly, unless I want to tweak it so that it's just supplements coming up. And I actually found this when I was watching some of their training, which once again, I'm going to give you a QR code in here in a second so that you can actually go watch their training as well. it is something that you could have. This was from their marketing tools, which I hadn't found. So this would be from Zyto.com. And then they have a thing at the top that says marketing materials. And this is basically something that you could put up like at a booth if you were going to do a link. And this way people can walk up, you put your own QR code there with basically your own scan, like you saw in the last slide, right? This remote sign up link, which basically if you take a picture of this, it will walk you right through that. I apologize. If the app was working right now, I would be walking you through it from my phone, but this gives you the exact instructions of how to do it, okay? But basically that remote sign up link is what you would then put into a QR code generator, which if you're like, oh, that's terrifying, it's so scary, it's not scary. You literally open up a Google window, type in QR code generator. You don't have to get an account with anybody. You paste the your link in there and it will create your own little QR code that you'd put on this. This would be at your booth. And then people can, like 10 people could walk up at the same time and all be doing it on their own phone, right? They're not waiting in line for you. Super handy. And actually this is helpful too when you're even telling people about what's going to happen when they do it on their phone, even if you're not at a booth, right? Just the whole create a password, download the app, blah, 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 right? So we did make this document and luckily for us, Andy Goddard has placed it on the sharesuccess.com/library for you so that you can look quite professional if you choose to do the Zyto link and you want to, like Rachel recommended, have, a paper that you send them, right? Or something, even if you're not together, you could still fill this in. And we can actually create, right now, this is something that you would print out, but we can create a PDF fillable one that you could fill these columns in. We'll work on that, okay? But for now, at least you have something that looks kind of professional. You could print off, you don't have to make it yourself. All right, so here's our, costs on the link, okay? So another difference is, I would say, is that if someone is just getting started and they're like, I don't know that I have $300 to drop plus $50 a month, then this, you notice in the first part of this, right, with the Zyto link, this is basically the price that they currently offer. Okay, that's not a doTERRA special. They are waiving the $399 enrollment fee right now. It's only $50 a month to do the subscription, okay? And you'd go to that link, zyto.com/product/link to get that pricing. Okay, that's not doTERRA specific. That's anybody can get that. But what they did for us is they created this special price, which you can use that QR code to scan. And it is $300 for a full year. So if you do the math, okay, I'm not a mathematician, but $50 a month times a year is $600, okay? So this one, you are paying it once, all at one time. So if you do not have the extra cash, then this is not a good decision. But if you do, then this might be the way to go, right? It's 50% off. I am a current Zyto link user, so I actually emailed them at accountservices@zyto.com and they went ahead and did my $300 payment. So now for the next 12 months, I am not paying $50 a month. I am paying $25. Sorry, my recharge is all gone. But there's their support number, you guys, and they're great with tech. So if you have any issues, they will help you. You got to email them by the 30th, okay, to get that deal. Thank you. All right, here is the QR code for the tutorials, for the Zyto link tutorials, okay? These are in English, sorry about that, but right. And then here's the slide. I'm so sorry, for the Power Me. It's on October 3rd, 6 o'clock Mountain. Same link as far as sharesuccess.com/Zoom.
Yes. Yeah. So the Power Me is yet another tool that actually is offered by doTERRA, and it is free, right? Not going to be maybe as robust yet. They're changing it all the time and improving it. I think it eventually will get to something that, gives it, but it's still a tool even now that you can use like this tool. The end goal is to get people to use wellness products. We already know that they need the wellness products. We already know they need to start with a 90-day cleanse. We already know they need foundational wellness in their lives. We already know that. And so all we're doing is using a third-party tool to, give it the credibility. So we're not telling them to do that. When they see that, it kind of just gets legit in their mind, and then we can help them get on the products. Okay, so we're at 7:28, man. We said this will only go to 7:30, but I think we might be able to, maybe if people are willing here, presenter-wise anyway, to eke out 10 minutes or so of maybe answering some questions.
Well, and actually, now that I'm not coughing up a lung, so sorry about that. I wanted to just say something really quickly that I do with the Zyto link. I do similar things as far as I don't gasp and things like that when I see people's results. But the other thing I do is I love to I go through the systems, and it does have an emotions readout as well. And I basically say, hey, let's find a winner in these. Which one has the most biomarkers out of range? Because I want them to once again kind of like not be petrified and to feel like loser, right? But oh my gosh. And so I'm like, hey, let's find the winner, and the link does actually have a really cool thing where you can check a box, and it's like in the right hand corner of each rectangle of the systems, and you can check it and say that you have some that are tied. Sometimes we have a few that are tied for winner. It might be emotions, and it might be, a lot of times I find detox and gastrointestinal are tied sometimes with emotions, but a lot of times emotions is like the most out of whack. And so you can actually compare those. You can check boxes and then there's a little button that comes up that says compare, and bam, it'll like show you what products are going to help all those things come back into range. If someone has emotions as a winner, then I'm like, hey, you know what? Emotions are typically at the root of just about everything we deal with in our body. And so they create lots of physical symptoms. Let's just bare bones focus here. If that's the winner, I don't even focus on anything else. I'm just like, let's just focus your energy right here. And, I'll just help them hook what the oils are to their current habits in their life, so that they do not have to try to figure out how to take 5 new things and do it, right? I'm like, oh, hey, let's say cedarwood comes up, right? And I'm like, you know what? What's a habit that you do often that includes maybe a bathroom? What do you do throughout the day that maybe, and people are like, oh, I go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, great. Well, that's a habit you already have. Can you put that oil in your bathroom? And every time you go to the bathroom, you're going to see it, and you're going to rub it on your stomach, something simple, right? That they can do. And I'm not, and then take your hands and breathe it in, right? If we're dealing with emotions, you're going to want to breathe it in. You're going to want to topically apply it. And if it's internal use oil, then great, let's take it internally too. And so that's just a little tip, is like keeping it simple for people, like Kevin and Rachel already said. Hooking it to a habit they already have, I find is a great way for them to maybe actually be successful with the new plan, But yes, that is a little last minute piece there.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, quick, let's dive into just a few Q&A things. I'm gonna huck these
So James,
questions
I have
out.
there's a lot of questions about the negative
Yes, that
and
was where I was
positive
gonna
numbers.
start. Yeah.
So there was like lots of them. So instead of just answering everyone individually, I just thought I would wait. Honestly, I don't spend a lot of focus there, because if we focus on every little thing, we're going to overwhelm them, and they're just going to be like, huh, what does this mean? So I focus on what I focus on. Kevin focuses what he focuses on. So find the way you can go through it easily. I never say, oh no, this is a positive number, or oh no, this is a negative number. I don't even go there. And some of you that do scans may do it that way, but I focus, like I said, on the organs, the core systems, and then most of the time, like, if I see somebody's parasites way out plus bone marrow way out, and they're telling me that they have big issues, I'm like, okay, let's do some detoxing here. And I told you, the ones of you that were in Salt Lake for a thing, just like the man that, his organs were a mess. They had taken out his adrenal glands, and you're like, what in the world? And his organs were just a super mess. Well, on that, I'm not going to say, well, let's try some rosemary for your adrenal. No, I'm going to say, how about, I can't make any promises, but if it were me, I would start a 90-day program. And another question was like, how do you get them into a 90-day cleanse? if they see their organs like that, most of the time they're going to take their health pretty. I find that people take their health pretty serious, and they're willing to invest in their health, especially when they see their organs looking like that. And they don't sign up for 90 days to start with, but if we can get them on a cleanse the first 30 days, before they start month 2, I'm actually going out there and doing another scan, just like with this man that, you know, he was in really bad shape. Well, when I went out there on month 2, he'd gotten a little discouraged, but he had a little bug that had went through, and, you know, a little virus or whatever. And, you know, he felt bad for for a few days. Well, when I went out there and actually showed him the scan, like, here's your before and after of your organs, he's like, oh, wow, I'm not quitting now. I'm going on to month 2. So then there was, you know, he's on month 2, and he's already said now, and this is where I get referrals. So I base my thing off referrals. So he said, can you also, you know, my dad's having some health issues. Could you help him? So, like, again, the negative numbers and positive numbers, you know, I can pull up a scientific reason of what that is. If you go explain that to somebody on a Zyto scan, it's not going to make sense to them a lot. But
Usually when like when it comes up, I'll touch on it like briefly, and I'll basically say, you know, it's Zyto's way of measuring things. And, you know, it's got, you know, fancy engineers that created these numbers, and there are videos out there that you can go learn, but basically you have your baseline, and that's what we're going to look at is what's scaled, because some of these numbers don't even start at 0. Like some are positive 10. So like the numbers become kind of irrelevant for us in this session. And we're looking at what's in the red. That's what the concern is. That's what we want to look at and address. And people are like, oh, and that simple of an answer, to call it out for what it is, and just like, it's an engineer's way of measuring things. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good enough. And they're not concerned. Now, yes, I've had people who got further down, and they'll see like one person had parasites, and it was like way out, and the number for parasite was 2,300 and something. And for myself, I'm like, oh my gosh. Of course, I didn't make that look or make that sound. I'm like, okay, let's address some parasites and help your body prepare, because with doing a parasite cleanse, you want to prepare the channels and detoxing. So let's work on that first in preparation for you to take care of those parasites. And I saw a couple of questions like, how do you get someone to do a cleanse? As you're going through the report, you know, as the one doing the like going through it, like you need to seed, like it was calling and selling, is you seed what they need to do, and to help them understand, like, you've got to get these toxins out. So like if it be herbicides, pesticides, whatever it is that's showing up in the report, you need to help them understand, like, for you to feel better, you need to get these chemicals, or you need to get these toxins out of your body. And when you get them out of your body, you're going to feel better. And so that's when we're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So that's kind of the direction I take when it goes from like, going through the numbers, then seeding them into doing the detox. So
yeah. And I mean, I know I heard Rachel do something similar where she's basically saying, look, you know, if it were me, this is where I would start, or what I would do. They're just looking to you for the suggestion, right? That you're showing them what's out of alignment, and you're saying, well, I would suggest, or if it were me, or these products will line up with getting your body ready for that, or everyone should start out with a 90-day reset and, you know, moving into their wellness, future.
Yeah. And can I touch on, like, there's a questions about the VMG Plus. So Zyto will do product updates in the fall. So after convention, that's when a lot of the products that doTERRA launches and announces all the new stuff. So then Zyto's got to go through their system of updating it. So at this point, in general, is like, you know, this is an amazing product. It shows that within your report, you're low in minerals, or you need more vitamins. And just the outcome of what the VMG does, that's where you can introduce, this is the product I would recommend. It's not on the report because it's brand new. Zyto still needs to update it, but that's the direction I would take. And just knowing the outcome of what the supplement does, then help them understand, and like, okay, let's do that. But for everyone that's on here, Zyto updates in the fall. And so it should, within the next couple of months, have it updated.
I think
usually I find in the
updated.
past, I usually see them, they usually have it up in the past, usually within a month. So we can look towards that. I was
Yeah.
excited when the first person showed up for MetaPower. I'm like, oh my goodness, they have it up, and it was a month later. So it's pretty good.
Awesome.
They're pretty good
That's
with
super
that.
good to know. Super good to know. All right. Anything else you guys want to add? I
I'm
think
just gonna add one thing about the zeros. That was always super confusing to me. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like what, why? And I was like, well, okay, but that system is so overwhelmed, or that organ, that it, just think of it like it's flatlined. It's like I can't even take anymore. Like I don't even know what to do. And so
Yeah.
that helps people. Usually they're like, oh, zero. Yeah. And that's not because I'm saying, oh, you have a disease or anything. It's just like it's overwhelmed, right? That system is overwhelmed. There's something
Another
we
thing I would like
need support.
to add to that one. So I did a scan yesterday, and it was all zeros, the whole entire report. I was like, say something like, what the heck? And it happened one other time. And so what I find, if they have some lotion on their hand, and then this gal, she'd been baking throughout the day, so she had butter, she made some amazing cinnamon rolls, like sourdough cinnamon rolls. And so she had a bunch of stuff on her hands, and she hadn't washed her hand, even though I washed the cradle between every use. She didn't wash with soap and water. And so I had to go wash real quick, put it on, it scanned, it was great. So if you're having some glitchy things, like something seems off, go have them wash their hands with soap and water, and then they should be good to go.
A lot of times if they're dehydrated, you also see it not stay the gold color because it's supposed to be
Yep.
gold. And I'll
Yep.
be like, okay, go put some water on your hands. Let's get some moisture, get something on, because if they're too, and as soon as I know that they're dehydrated, I know they're going to come up for recharge, because sure enough, you do a scan, you can barely do the scan to get somebody's scan on there, then they're going to come up for recharge.
Yeah.
yeah, recharge. Love that product. So amazing. And when you mix it with the VMG and the Advantage, yo. All
Would
right.
it be helpful for me to bring up the slides again of the costs? It sounds like someone has a question about that
Yeah,
again.
throw that up
I'm
there.
happy to say it, but it doesn't really do you justice because
Yeah,
you kind of need to see it.
People would like to see that. Yeah.
Okay, and like I said, take a picture probably, because like the one has an email address for the balance. If you're going to get that one, you do need to, it's a very manual process right now, and it's not going through just the main support line. And that's kind of, like I said, just special for us. So let me pull it up.
And I know Rachel went into the Q&A section and answered a bunch of questions. So if you're on the call, you might want to jump in before we end here real quick. And you guys that are listening to the call and get in on that Q&A and look at those answers that she put in there. And I'm not really seeing any other stuff come
Okay,
up
so take a
except for
picture of
the
this if you
slide.
want to buy the balance. And put a reminder in your phone to make sure you get it done before the last day of the month or by that day, okay? All right, so once again, you're gonna save, but this one's gonna cost you $300, right? To get started. And then the other one, it's gonna take me a second because it's at the end here, hold on. Okay, and then this is the link. That pricing at the top, once again, is everybody's pricing. There's nothing special there. But the special is that if you are willing to do it in one lump sum, then you could basically get it for half off, which is $300 for a year.
Man, I'm going to get one now. Dang it.
I know, right? Like I said, if you're currently a Zyto link, and I am sorry, I did not clarify right there. It says current Zyto users. I meant to say Zyto link users. Like if you've already got your $15 a month, which is what I had, I just emailed them at accountservices@zyto.com, and you just need to make sure you do that before then, and they process my $300 payment. So now I won't be paying a monthly, and then they'll do that again unless I let them know before the next year's out. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And that
Hey,
answers
James, can I cover something really quick? There was
Please,
another
yes,
question
please
on
do.
there asking how do we advertise the Zyto scans? So whenever I go and I'm trying to get into another area, like if I'm doing a health event, I will I'll have something on my table saying, interested in a health scan, ask me how. Or I always I always call it a health scan. I don't really do a lot of, and sometimes I will do, I don't like to do them at the event table because, there's going to be more people coming through and I can't do them. Now, if it's a totally slow day and there's only 3 or 4 people coming by the booth, yes, I'll do it. But most of the time I actually go out and do it one-on-one with a person instead of doing it at a booth. I have done both ways. I find going on meeting with them after the event's over, you get more personal one-on-one time with them instead of taking 30 minutes where other people are going to come. You can't really talk to them about it. So that's what I do. But I do put up, I always on my booths, I always say something about a health scan, like ask about your free health scan or ask about a health scan. You would, you can charge for the health scans, or you could do it. I always put, ask about how to get a free health scan. That could be, you could do a drawing where you have if you're trying to get new customers, you go to a new area and you're doing a booth, you could have a bowl there and, do a drawing for a free health scan. But that's how I have gotten contacts over the years, is doing scans that way. And if you're doing the link, yes, I actually did that last year. I would actually had the link. And so they had a QR code at my booth, and they actually did, they had links for a link for the Zyto, a QR for the code, and they would sit there and then they would do their own scan. I would get the information for my, from the client on my phone, and then I would set up a one-on-one with them afterwards and go over their scan. And that's how I did that.
Awesome. Kevin, how do you?
Just add, yeah, just a couple thoughts, just wrapping up. For those that are still considering and thinking about, like, how can you add it into what you're already doing? And that's something I've shared with a couple of people on my team that are utilizing Zyto at this point. One gal specifically, she was like, I don't know how, like, I don't want to add another thing to my life. And like, I'm like, just, add it to what you're already doing and see how that could work and fit in. And so that's one thing I would consider, like, if you're a massage therapist, like, how could you add that in? Or are you a therapist, a foot zoner? Like, what can you do that could just enhance your experience of your clients? And say you don't have a clientele at all. That is totally fine as well. Like for me, like I jumped like feet first. I just went for it to figure it out. And that may not be what you want to do, but go at your pace. But at the same time, like, it's a fantastic tool if you use it. And just thinking about, like, how can you add it to help you move forward in your business and grow your business, and whatever that looks like for you. Because one way doesn't fit everyone. Everyone will use it differently. And the way you do it is perfect.
Yeah. And I know you were able to, your wife refers people, her clients to you, but then also you put a post out on Facebook and things like that, right?
Yep. That and networking. I do quite a bit of networking in different networking groups, and that's been really beneficial to connect with different people and scan, and then referrals have come in. There's a gal that I was telling you about that does a sourdough. She's like, hey, can I broadcast that you're doing this for my family? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And she's got like 630,000 followers on Instagram. She's like, can I blast you? I'm like, let's do it. Let's go for it. And so it's like I would have never known that opportunity was around the corner unless I was talking to someone, right? And that's the thing, is you never know what's a week away, a month away. Like, as you're consistent and doing it, opportunities will show up. Like, they will show up. I promise you. If you show the universe that you are serious and you want to do something with this, the universe will deliver.
Yeah. So good. Mindset. Gotta love it. That's the driver behind everything that we do. You don't got that, ain't nothing working. All right. So we're at almost 2 hours here. So we're going to go ahead now and thank so much the time that our presenters gave to us this evening. They don't really get much out of this from doing it other than they're passionate and they love to collaborate, and that's the spirit of doTERRA. We love it, and we're grateful to them for sharing. If you have people that couldn't come tonight, we will find a way to get this recording posted up in very visible areas for you to get to it. I don't know exactly what that is yet, but we'll find a way. So stay tuned. And again, thanks y'all for coming this evening. Thanks to our presenters. And we will see you on October 3rd if you want to learn about PowerMe and see a live demo of how that works, what it can do for you, which is a free option that is helping people in their business as well. See you on October 3rd. Thanks, guys.